Okay, here we go. We are gonna test the Ranger extensively. I'm doing 3 30-second DPS tests. We're in beast mode. We're doing max DPS, 30 seconds. And we're gonna do 3 separate tests. You can see our damage is ranging around 225 approximately. But for Tamed Beast, I'm gonna mark down 247 for the first test. This is the second test. You can see I'm working my butt off, doing maximum damage. And I do have something very important to talk about in a couple seconds from now. I'm gonna go 30 seconds only. And this one's at about 237, approximately 227. Now we're gonna do hunting. We switch to hunting mode, look at the bottom. And let's see what damage we do here. Look at that, we're in the 3s. So you can see hunting is already better, but let's go 30 seconds. I'm gonna write down 300 for damage. We'll go ahead and do the second test. Look at that, we hit 400 there. But I want to do 3 tests, just to make sure. Because the Lord's been speaking to me, and I mean, if you find that hard to believe, He's speaking to you when you're gaming. He is speaking to you. I'm going to write down 290 for the second test. All right, come on, max DPS. What can we do here? I think we can clearly see that hunting is the better DPS spec over Tamed Beast. I'm going to write down 275 for this test. There's the averages. As you can see, we're a solid 50 points higher in DPS, and that is a big deal. You're talking about 50 points of damage per second higher. Let's go ahead and test out some hunting here. We're at 305 damage, dropping down a little bit. Did about 300 damage DPS on that boss. And let's see. Here's some pictures. You can pause them anytime you want. And I'll put in my dungeon run here, but I'll speed it up incredibly. And feel free to look up at top. Now you might be wondering, well, Garrett, what's going on here? There is a beast mode ranger on my team. He is the TAM player. I am Jet. And you can see right there, he did more than me. So the beast player did more. But just keep watching the damage up on the top right. He did out damage me maybe 3 times, where my hunting spec did more damage about 20 times. Look at the damage right now. I'm 100 points higher than him. So, I wanted to ask you, remember, this video here is to show you the damage up on the top right. Tam is the beast mode player. I am hunting Spec. And you can see hunting is better. He has to keep moving. I need to stand still. They're polar opposites of each other. But I wanted to ask you, what do we do when the Lord says no? Maybe you wanted to be a musician. You practice guitar, bass, or piano, 3 hours a day, every day. You got some good songs, you put together a band, you did your recordings, you spent a lot of money, you made your videos, and the Lord says no. What do we do? What do we do when our hearts get crushed and God says no to some of our goals or dreams or desires that we wanted to do? Tam did a little bit better than me there, but let's see what happens here. And he did really good there. On this boss, I usually burst the bubbles. That's why the DPS is terrible. So the beast player, Tam, came in first 4 or 5 times. Me, on DPS, about 15 or 20. It just depends, what the boss is, what the mob is. But I'm showing you clearly here that hunting is better. Did you know that story I shared with you about music, putting together a band, trying to get a recording contract? That was a true story. You see, my uncle owned one of the largest record companies in Hollywood. He did sell it a while ago, but he was the owner, president. And I put together a band. We got our songs down. We made videos. And I had a meeting with him in his office. Imagine that, meeting with the owner of a record company in his office. And he said no. There you go, look at the damage. Solid 50 to 70 points higher than him on that last boss. Here, he did better. I remember that fight, and I was thinking, okay, he did better there. Look at that. I got into the 500s there in hunting mode. So just making a really cool video showing you the DPS differences and we tried to get a recording contract. We contacted like 50 different labels, managers, and other people, and everybody said no. What do we do when the Lord says no? We were watching this Christian video, and it was about a teenage woman, and she wanted to date the famous guy in high school. The most famous guy. And the Lord appeared to her and said no. And Jesus told her, he's not one of mine. But she didn't listen. She tried to date him, got into some trouble, and the Lord appeared to her again and said, I warned you. I said no. And she still wasn't convinced, and she still tried to fool around with him. And Jesus appears to her again and says, child, my answer is no. Did you know the Lord says no? Look at the DPS, by the way. There we go. Now we're level 23. And we're going to do the beast first. I'm doing maximum DPS. Sending out the dogs. We're doing 30-second tests now that we hit level 23. For the first test, I wrote down 327. This test, I'm going to write down 330 DPS. It's going up and down. Okay, 30 seconds. We'll write down 330. For this test, max damage. This is the third one. So I'll share with you, I've had the Lord say no to me a lot. Crushing me. Crushing my pride, crushing my ego, crushing my hopes. For this test, we're doing a little bit better. Somewhere around 360. Approximately 360. Now let's go ahead and switch to hunting. And let's do 3 30-second tests. Look at that. We hit 650 DPS. Why? Because his AoE ability is better than the beast mode. Why is it better? Because it's instantaneous. The AoE is not spread out over time. It's instant damage. And that's a lot better. Here's test number 2. For the first test, I wrote down 450. We're at 500. I hope this video blesses you and helps you to figure out what type of ranger you want to play. For this test, I'm going to write down 400. And the last test. Yeah, I messed up the AoE attack. So the DPS got a little bit lower, but look at hunting. We're in the 400s. Yeah, I didn't click the AoE there. That's why it's lower. But I'll write down 350. Is that fair? I'm going to be talking about what do we do when God says no. There's the test. Beast mode, hunter mode. Hunter is so much better. I love pets. I love beasts. But I will not be playing that whatsoever. It's too weak. It's just too weak. It's not enough damage. All right, there we go.